Welcome to the Small Business Big Impact interview series. Sasha Titchkosky is the co-founder of Koskela, an innovative and inspiring Australian furniture, design and lifestyle brand that is committed to exceptional design, manufacturing in Australia, protecting our environment and championing social enterprise. After a career in the corporate world, studying law and accounting and working at the Australian Stock Exchange, Sasha Titchkosky was inspired to create a different kind of business. She founded Koskela in 2000 with her partner, Russell Koskela, in a bid to create a company with a courageous and purpose-driven mindset, strong social conscience, and a creative, modern approach to furniture and design. Together, they've created a successful business, winning prestigious design prizes and attracting clients such as Apple, Google, and Australia's leading law firms and banks. Through a 20-year journey, they've implemented an ethical agenda across all areas of the business, including becoming B Corp certified in 2017. Sasha is the driver of Koskela's Social Impact Division, which supports and celebrates the works of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community arts centres throughout Australia and creates income earning opportunities for them. So welcome, Sasha.
Thanks very much. It's great to be here.
And I'll give a little bit more background on Koskela and all of the wonderful things that they do. Koskela has a proud history of manufacturing its products in Australia, supporting local jobs. Its products are built for life and designed to be environmentally friendly, including using natural, non-toxic, and sustainably harvested materials. The majority of pieces are GECA certified, so Good Environmental Choice Australia, and in high demand for Green Star fit-outs. Koskela collaborates with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander artists, as mentioned before, to create new products, supporting these artists directly. And in addition, 1% of all other Koskela product sales, or around 10% of profits, go toward First Nations-owned arts centres, supporting artists and the maintenance and sharing of traditional art forms. The Koskela Learn products also profits go to Gindabari, an education program for young mums with a high proportion of Indigenous students. Koskela has also long been active in carbon reduction, including a decade-long partnership with Rainforest Rescue, which has led to the protection of a hectare of the Daintree rainforest and the planting of thousands of native Australian trees. They achieved climate active carbon neutral certification in September 2020 and have now set a target of net zero by 2030. Sasha has also been collaborating with other B Corps over the last couple of weeks to advocate for higher ambitions at the Glasgow COP Summit, the climate summit happening right now, and adoption of a climate act in Australia, including newspaper and online ads you may have seen to pass the bill, not the buck. And I'm not even sure I've managed to cover everything. So tell me, Sasha, I generally tell small businesses not to try to do it all, but it seems like somehow you've managed. So was that always the goal from the start, or has that developed over time?
Yeah, it definitely developed over time. In terms of sort of our focus on sustainability and trying to bring that into our processes, designs, how we thought about the products we were creating, that was definitely embedded in the business from the beginning. But we didn't really start working with First Nations artists and things until about 6 or 7 years into the business, when I felt that we were financially secure enough to continue any relationships that we embarked on, and to make sure that we were financially sound enough that we could continue to fund them, so we weren't sort of yet another kind of partner full of promise and hope that didn't have the means to actually carry through with that. And I think, yeah, that's been exciting that, you know, 12, 13 years later, we're still working with some of the artists that we first started working with. So definitely, and then I think what's happened is, as we've sort of gone on, we've become more, maybe a bit more sophisticated in kind of what we're doing. So yeah, looking at certifications and having sort of independent like assessment criteria and things around sustainability initiatives so that we can actually prove what we say we're doing.
Yeah, wonderful. It makes perfect sense that not only do you want to ensure that those partnerships are stable, but also that certification comes after you've embedded these things in the business and are doing it confidently and well.
Yeah.
So this, it seems, has really driven success for the business. What difference do you think all of your sustainability commitments and credentials have made?
I think initially, like if you go back 21 years ago when we started the business, the whole sort of manufacturing sector was being offshored. There wasn't really like a huge commitment to sustainability, or sort of this idea of kind of even an ethical consumer, I think. It just was nowhere near as prevalent. You didn't have sort of even the idea of kind of a social enterprise, so a for-profit company that was motivated to do good as well, or you know, that had a bigger purpose. That just didn't really exist when we started. So I think though that what's happened is that that's really changed a lot. So I think you do have the rise of kind of the conscious consumer. We're seeing pressure at every possible point around sustainability and environmental impact. So in many ways, I think the fact that that was embedded in the business and we were talking about it 21 years ago, and, you know, that's sort of still our focus today, has given us a credibility that maybe other organisations don't have. I think, yeah, we are respected for that, I guess, and that does make a difference. So we are seeing, like, I think actually our social media marketing team were having a look at some interesting statistics around search terms and things, and even in the last 3 months, I think there's been an over 4,000% increase in people looking for content around how to live sustainably. Which is really interesting. So I think people are, you know, suddenly, finally, the pennies kind of dropped that actually we all need to think about this. And I think as an owner of a business, it's even more critical that you are actually looking at your impact, like of any products that you create, around the service, around how you conduct your business. And you do have a responsibility, I think, to do that.
Yeah, what an amazing trend that is, that people are getting over that guilt of not doing anything and really starting to recognize that they can take action, and that, you know, those alternatives really are accessible, that they're available out there. So that's wonderful. You mentioned how you've gained credibility by having been in this space for so long. What would you say to small businesses who are trying to get into that space now, who might not have that credibility? You know, what else do you think is important to find success in sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, I think in many ways it's so much easier now. You know, there are so many great companies who are often like really open in disclosing what they're doing. So they're almost providing other companies that are starting now with playbooks of what to do, like, and that's fantastic. Like, there's really no reason not to kind of get on board. Like, yeah, it might feel a bit difficult or a bit unattainable, that, you know, you can't, every company can't be the Patagonia of the world, but you can learn from them and you can see what they're doing. There's so much literature around case studies, you know, people disclose their sustainability reports. It's almost like there's an overabundance of content. Now it's just a matter of actually engaging with it and just starting. So start to do something. Like, you don't have to change the world, but you can do a few really simple things which will already get you a long way and help to drive, you know, what's going on around you.
Yeah, so interesting that the focus on sustainability disclosures by other companies has really created a manual for any other company wanting to follow them.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you recently won the Sydney region, so are a finalist for the New South Wales level business award in sustainability. Very exciting. Good luck. What do you think sets you apart from other businesses around sustainability?
I think it's a few things. Like one, I think it is genuinely embedded in everything that we do. So every part of the business has sustainability and impact goals, so which they're assessed against. So it's not purely just about profit or cost. This is sort of embedded right across the company, and it's a really important part of what we do. And I think also the fact that we're originators of products, we've sort of had this idea that we have a real responsibility, therefore, to make sure that the products that we're designing are really fit for purpose, that they're well designed, really well made. We have warranties around them, and we take responsibility for repairing them and ensuring that they have as long a life cycle as possible. And I think that that's something that does differentiate us quite a bit. So I think in our part of the market, you know, in furniture, the majority of furniture that is available in Australia is designed elsewhere and is imported into Australia. So you don't have very many organisations who are as able to sort of shift the dial, I guess, as we are. So, you know, we've had a program where with all of our new products, everything has to be designed to be repaired on site. So it doesn't have to come off site, out of a workplace, out of a school in order to get repaired. We can bring teams to site that have all of the components and can fix it. We're going back across our range and redesigning products to enable that to happen. So like our best-selling little sofa, the Quadrant Soft, that now comes with removable covers. So you could theoretically have a winter and a summer version of it if you wanted to, or if you change your mind, you move, the cushion gets, you know, the covers get damaged, then they can, it's easy for us to send you out a cover. It doesn't have to come all the way back to us for us to reupholster. And that's what we really want to see. Like we sort of have this idea that we want to create future heirlooms, that people will love our pieces. They're careful and considered in making their purchasing decisions. And when they do, they're really excited about them and they love them, you know. And there's other things that we're doing in the next couple of years that will kind of continue to further those sort of ambitions.
Yeah, wonderful. And you touched there on the fact that things are designed and made here in Australia, which has been a big part of your business from the start, but a lot of other small businesses view that as too difficult. So what has that required from you? And what do you say to businesses who say it's too expensive to manufacture onshore?
Yeah, I think like what it requires is a great deal of tenacity. So it's certainly not an easy route to follow. But I think the thing that we sort of always say, we're never going to be the cheapest. And I think if your only kind of key selling point is that you're the cheapest in your category, as a small business, I find it hard to believe that you'll survive, because the big guys can buy in huge volumes and can always kind of outcompete you on that. They've got huge, deep pockets. Half of them, like in the e-commerce space, aren't even profitable. So how do you ever compete with that? So what you've got to do then is come up with something that's different, find, you know, a uniqueness to your product, and have a really clear kind of clear idea of what your values are and be, you know, confident in kind of actually stating those to your customers and be clear in what it is that you offer that's different to others. And then I think the other way that you can really compete is in service. You know, small business, I think, often has a really, like the good ones have loyal customer bases who feel this deep sort of connection to their store or their small business because they almost feel like they're part of their community. And I think that's something that a really big business will never really be able to replicate. And so that's a uniqueness, like, and it's worth kind of focusing on that, I think.
Yeah, so important. And, you know, that those local jobs are also advocates for the business as well, that they can, you know, tell all of their friends to be purchasing.
Yeah.
And do you think that all of the initiatives at Koskela, including the local manufacturing, including Indigenous, including carbon, all of these things, what kind of difference has that made for your employees and for sort of the internal culture and retaining talent?
Yeah, it's definitely made a difference. So I think getting our B Corp certification, like that really has helped in terms of sort of highlighting us or giving us credibility in this space, I think. And we're now able to attract people who've had really interesting careers in other organisations who are looking for a company where they do feel like they're kind of part of a family, but they're also part of something that's bigger than just their next paycheck or, you know, the next dollar of revenue that we're looking at making. And they can see the difference that their role makes. And I think that has made a huge difference for us. The sort of clearer we are in defining all of those things, the more likely it is that we can attract really great talent and also they remain with us.
Yeah. All right, now let's start talking about your favorite topic, your work with Indigenous people and Indigenous reconciliation. So you have a reconciliation action plan, a RAP. A lot of small businesses would think isn't relevant to them. So can you tell me first why supporting Indigenous art is important to you and also the purpose of having a RAP?
Yeah. For us, we, I guess my parents weren't Australian. I was born overseas, and I never could really understand why Australians didn't like really kind of revere our First Nations culture and why that wasn't sort of something that we recognised as being so unique and so defining for us as a nation. And I think it's just been something I've been interested in from a very young age. I had a couple of opportunities which were really amazing in, you know, both as I was growing up and in my 20s that, yeah, and I just felt like there was so much talent that a whole lot of Australia never really knew about in terms of sort of First Nations art and maybe what some people might term craft. And so this idea that maybe there was a way we could use our design skills and our access to a whole new marketplace that sat outside sort of a very niche kind of gallery market. And if there was a way that we could come together and create income earning opportunities for these artists to allow them to continue to live a life that they wanted that was independent of government programs and things, then that would be a really good outcome. And we just slowly and carefully kind of explored all of those ideas and then eventually came up with a model that, you know, still works really well 12 years later. So, and in terms of our reconciliation action plan, we didn't do that right from the beginning, but we felt that it was important, I think, for us to probably to help further our ambitions in this area, and to ensure that everything we were doing, I guess, was done within a framework that was sort of approved in a way, I guess. And it is a really important thing for us. We're really proud of having a reconciliation action plan and it being at the level that it is. And it's something that we have a RAP working group, which includes people from right across the business. And that's really important to us as well. We do a lot of kind of events every second Friday. Every one Friday of every month, we have a like an education sort of program. We run our whole team through a cultural competence training program. So and often for our team members, when we're working specifically on, say, a bespoke project in this space, it's often one of the real highlights that they'll talk about over their year or over their working career with us. So that's really exciting as well. Like, it's been something that our team members have loved, sort of feeling more engaged with. And then each of them becomes an advocate, I guess, and helps to kind of break down the barriers and, you know, to sort of increase our sphere of influence in relation to reconciliation.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you're addressing that initial kind of confusion and frustration about why do Australians not embrace this as much, by giving them that opportunity to I've seen that in my previous organizations. Actually, I used to run the RAP program for a Big Four, and a lot of, you know, accountants in button-up shirts really loved coming along to all kinds of Indigenous kind of awareness events and getting really involved. So like, they just took it and ran with it, which was so beautiful to see. So I love seeing that trend starting to happen in Australia. Because also, as a foreigner, I'm the same. I'm like, New Zealanders really embrace that culture, right? And even Americans, you know, that Native American culture is really incredible, and people increasingly embrace it. And Australian, like, the Indigenous cultures of Australia are the longest continuing civilization in the world. So much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much role model in terms of living sustainably with the land. So yes, it's very exciting. And so cool to hear that, you know, the RAP kind of creates that framework for you, I guess, the maturation of making sure that you're addressing everything in the way that the experts and the people who know the best would recommend that you do. Awesome. So now let's talk about all things carbon and net zero. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. A very frustrating couple of weeks for many of us, but also some progress is happening. So you're carbon neutral as a business and have set a net zero target by 2030. You've also been very active advocating for the government to establish a strong policy, including that Climate Act Now campaign supporting Zali Steggall's bill in Parliament. So what more broadly is this push toward net zero and, you know, reducing climate change? What is that actually going to mean for SMEs? And why do you think that it's important for SMEs to follow in your footsteps and set their own targets?
Yeah, so the other thing that we've done, which we're just waiting to hear back on, is we've also gone in via the SME pathway to commit to science-based targets, so which is a UN-run program, and then we will sort of shortly announce that we want to get not just to net zero, but to absolute zero by 2035. So we're really working quite hard at the moment in our kind of creating our roadmap, I guess, to get us there. And I think for SMEs, to be honest, it's now kind of probably a matter of survival. Like, I don't actually think it's a nice to have anymore for a business. I think it won't be much longer before companies who aren't doing the right thing probably won't be around. And I think there are some really simple things that all companies can do. And the first one is to use renewable energy to power their business. So there's so many great options out there now, from Diamond Energy to PowerShop to Anova. Even if you can't have solar, or you're not able to actually have your own renewable energy, there are different green energy providers out there. For every business that switches to one of those, it means there's more renewables entering the grid. So it's that's a really easy, kind of really important thing to do. And then I think making sure your default super fund is one of the non-fossil fuel investing super funds. So that's a really simple thing to do, because we have trillions of dollars sitting there. And if they're all getting invested into the new sort of economy, if all that money is getting invested into that, we're going to see a huge uptake of really fantastic new opportunities for Australia. And I think, like, rather than worrying about it being a cost of business, I think it's time to also look at all the incredible opportunities that this switch to a new lower carbon economy is going to bring to Australia. And it's just really exciting. And it's just, sort of trying to encourage people to all get on board. I think it's you'll be really well respected, I think, even whether you're an SME or a bigger company, if you're actually doing the right thing and you're getting on board. And, you're seeing everyone from the Business Council of Australia, who a few years ago were kind of pretty dismissive about having net zero targets for Australia, really coming out very strongly and advocating for it, which means it's only a matter of time before that's going to be sort of the way you've got to operate your business at every level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, all of the people that we've been seeing in the streets for all of the Friday strikes and things like that, each of them are looking for businesses that are aligning with what they want to see in the world. So if you have, a sign in the window of your small business saying that that's what you stand for and that you've committed, then you've got loyal local customers.
Yeah, totally.
And it's been amazing, the number of large businesses, especially in this space, committing to net zero has, they said, trebled in the last year. As of a couple of months ago, I think there have been even more since. And most recently, there was even 833 Australian businesses have committed to net zero, including small and medium businesses. So that's like where the snowball is really going down the hill.
Yeah, it certainly is.
And in terms of, what do you think it is about not just switching to renewable power and those things, but really kind of planting a flag and saying, we have these commitments, we have this target? Why do you think that's important?
I think it's important. Like, for us, I guess we're a spec, like, in the sort of global scene, in terms of the carbon emissions that we generate. But I hope that that we'll be able to influence our supply chain. And we work with a range of different Australian manufacturers. And if we could influence every one of those to sort of get on board to make changes, well, that then has a spin-off benefit for everyone else that's actually using them to manufacture their products. And so we might only be small, but if you look at kind of our reach and our circle of reach, like, it's quite big. And we can also lead by example. We sort of basically are thinking of ourselves as almost being a case study that other companies can piggyback off. So hopefully we can do the hard work because we're super motivated to do it and we want to do it. That means it's easier for someone else who's kind of following in our footsteps to get on board as well. And we just feel there's like a responsibility, I guess, to do this. And I think, we're involved in advocacy because I view that as being part of our sort of remit to be a B Corp. Like, you know, we can't just sit back and let other people kind of lead the debate on that. We have to get involved as well. And I think that's, yeah, we're sort of obligated to do that, really, to be involved in the conversation and to help sort of put forward our perspective and our point of view.
Yeah, to really break the trail.
Yeah.
States, you know.
Yeah.
And I saw, of course, that the B Corp Climate Collective has launched with a number of resources on that website on, you know, each stage of the journey. Is there anything that you're excited about that collective?
Yeah, it's, I mean, for me, it's probably one of the like really inspiring, kind of empowering groups that I'm part of. So there is some really amazing companies who participate in that, and it's wonderful kind of building a sense of community around an issue where everyone's really passionate kind of about driving the debate on it and about taking action, and in doing it in a collaborative way, because we do know that the more we work collectively together, the much, you know, the bigger our impact is. So coming together and doing that's fantastic. It's, you know, the whole idea behind that website and the resources we create is that it's open to anyone. So it doesn't matter whether you're a B Corp, an aspiring B Corp, or you've never even heard of what a B Corp is, like, get on board, use the resources. They're available there for anyone.
Yeah, perfect. And I might just throw in there a little plug for a series of explainer articles that I'm also creating on my website, specifically targeted at small businesses who don't have the background that a lot of B Corps might be already on that path, but a lot of small businesses are still just getting their heads around this whole space. So definitely try to check that on the website, and I will be providing links to both the B Corp Climate Collective website and to this explainer series in all of the recordings. So now I always, as I mentioned at the start of this, I do encourage small businesses to focus on their unique contribution to the sustainability movement. You know, depending on your business model, that might be that you have greater impacts in one area or greater influence in another area. So given that Koskela has been doing a little bit of everything, what do you think your real superpower is?
I think our superpower probably is being a bit of a change maker. So we definitely are much happier leading than following. So I think that just has been the way we've kind of always been. And I think that probably is our superpower, that we are willing to risk it, to go out on a bit of a limb, to try new things. And I think that means that we're more agile, we're, you know, more innovative, but it means that we open the door often for other people to follow. So, and I think that probably is our superpower. Yeah. We've got and a really engaged kind of team who love that as well. Like, they love the challenge of trying new things. They do embrace change. They see it as kind of an opportunity to learn and develop. And I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah. So important for the culture of a business to have that, be it sustainability or any other innovation.
Yeah.
And in a bit of summary of, you know, all of the tips that we've been giving to small businesses already, what would you say is your number one tip for small businesses looking to be more sustainable?
Switch to renewables. So, you know, if there's one thing you can do that's really straightforward, do it today. So it will have a big impact. Yeah. And then just start getting engaged, you know, start reading a bit about it. Look at articles like the ones that you're going to produce that are guides that help you to get there. I think some of the local councils and things are offering all sorts of grants and opportunities for you to reduce your energy consumption as well. So that's another really good avenue and a really good thing to do.
Yeah. As you say, we're switching to renewables. It's something you can literally do straight away without much budget impact or anything. Yeah. Okay. And obviously there's so much to pick apart. It's hard to cover it all. So how can people learn more about this subject or what Koskela is doing or stay in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm always happy to connect with people via LinkedIn. Sign up to our newsletter and database if you're really interested in Koskela and what we're doing in this space. So we're not always sort of publishing content in relation to sustainability, but it's definitely something that is part of our communications. And then sign up to the BCCC, like join the LinkedIn group, which we're getting going. Sign up to on the website, and we can add you to the database as we're building that as well.
Wonderful. I'll keep an eye out for that LinkedIn group as well. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Sasha, for all of the leadership that you have been trailblazing in this space and setting that path for other businesses and really doing it all, being a superwoman.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for giving us your time and sharing your wisdom today.
No problem at all. Thanks very much for the invitation to talk about some areas I'm very passionate about.
Wonderful.